Yo, what up, everybody? It's me, Trickster Shadow, Variety Killer Main with over 7,000 hours in the game, and today I'm going to be talking about the MMR system. If you don't know what the MMR system is, it's a matchmaking rating system. That's what it stands for. It's basically a new way for behavior to matchmake people because they've admitted that the emblem system just doesn't work. That the emblem system is more of like an indicator of how long you've played within the past month. And so they're making a completely new system where it has hidden MMR, so you don't actually know if you're ranking up or ranking down. I mean, you could assume, but you don't actually know it for sure if you're doing one or the other. And so they tested this out yesterday for 24 hours, and it just ended a few hours ago from as the time of me recording this. And I was very skeptical of it at first because the other tests that they've done of it, usually I'm going against babies, like people that legitimately it's their first game. I look at their Steam profile and it says 0.1 hours. And so I was very skeptical of it working, but it seems like from the killer side, it works really well. The only killers I saw kind of issues with were M2 killers like Blight or Billy, that people are killers that use their power to down or injure people a lot uh, just by with their into ability. Like Michael Myers, Ghostface, Spirit, any of those killers that M1 a lot, like they seem like fine. They seem fine. Um, which is pretty good. Like that's pretty good results, especially for a test, because that seemed like just a minor issue that can be fixed. So it seems like MMR system works really good, at least from the killer side. Survivor side, I played about 5 matches of Survivor. First few matches, it seemed like everybody was a baby. The killer was a baby. Survivors were a baby, and which sucks because as a survivor, if your team doesn't know what they're doing, then you can just die. You get thrown on your first hook after running the killer for 3 gens, and then you just die and hook. Everybody dies on hook trying to save you, uh, and that just sucks. And then I assume your MMR goes down just because you die. But like that sucks. But towards like my fourth or fifth match out of my 5 matches played, it seemed like it was starting to get a little bit better. It seemed like my MMR was going up, and it wasn't as bad. I've heard from Survivor mains that played pretty much all Survivor during the MMR testing that they ended up getting just like spirits and Freddy's and killers like that, just that are just running like 4 slowdowns or running like competitive builds, and that's really unfun. But from what a lot of the stuff I've heard, although they are getting those like really sweaty gamers, uh, they are running into more competent teammates, which seems like the MMR system is working. It seems like it's doing what it's intended, which is good. It's good that like they're setting up to do something and then it's actually happening what they're doing or what they want to have happened. And uh, good results. I'm very happy that at least something is going right with behavior. That's something that they're trying to work towards actually functioning. I have heard of some people having really long queue times, but from what I've noticed, the commonality with the people that have really long queue times, those are typically people that are running competitive builds, like the one you see like in the footage behind me. This is just footage from BOTB, by the way, and I'm gonna actually playing while I'm talking about this. It's just from a tournament, which I thought was very fitting, because like talking about sweaty games, well, might not have a tournament footage in the background. But I've noticed that people that are running really sweaty builds, like this one right here, you see in this from the tournament I did back in BOTB, or people that are running like 4 slowdowns, stuff like that. Those are the people that are running into really long matchmaking times because I'm guessing their MMR is just so high that the MMR system can't find anybody even close to them. Because if you play like I've heard of like people like they're at like their 500th win streak with like Nurse, or 500th win streak with the Twins, or 500th win streak with this or that, and they're like, "Oh, I can't find any games." I'm like, "Yeah, I wonder why." Like, you've killed like 1,000 people in a row, and you've never lost a game. Like, of course, your MMR is going to be in the sky, but it just seems like it's more of an issue with the MMR not broadening if there's just nobody to play against, which is an issue. Um, but I think that kind of issue kind of exemplifies like one of the bigger problems with DB that I've always talked about, which is perk synergy, and being that like those people may be really good, but even if they're really good, even if they go against a good team, if the team isn't expecting like that kind of crazy amount of play, like a forever build or whatever, if it's not a team like that's planning to be like a 4-man competitive Swift, then you could go against really strong perks and just like not expect it, not expect it to be happening, and then you just get dumpstered because all of a sudden I'm going against a tournament Blight or a tournament Freddy or a tournament whatever, and that always sucks. And so it goes into like the whole perk synergy discussion to where like the way that perks interact in DBD, to where perks may like be strong on their own, but if you run like Ruin and Dying together, both of those perks are fine on their own, but together they're really strong. Or Undying and Devour, they're really strong together, and that stuff like that isn't factored into like how matches are made, and it's not even factored into game balance a lot of the time. A lot of the time when the devs try to balance perks, they balance perks individually to where if they see like with Ruin and Dying, oh, Ruin and Dying is really oppressive, so let's nerf Undying to fix the Ruin and Dying situation. It wasn't a problem with Undying, it was a problem with Ruin and Dying specifically. And so there's no systems in place to have checks and balances for how strong builds are together, because if you want to, you can go into a match and run 4 game slowdowns, and who's gonna stop you? Like, it's pretty much just up to you. If you want to run 4 game slowdowns, you can run 4 game slowdowns. If it if like you feel bad running it, then like you may stop running it just because like games get so boring or whatever. But there's absolutely nothing stopping you from doing that. And I think that's a bit of a problem because if everybody just runs like the strongest build possible and there's no incentive to run anything else, then that's when you get the power creep in DB. That's when the games get really boring because everybody's just running the most efficient things. And especially with the MMR system, I think the MMR system is a good thing, but I think it's a bad thing to implement with no duo queues. If there's only one queue, if there's not a casual queue and a competitive queue, I think it's bad to have the MMR system just because I why would I experiment with other builds like my if I'm just gonna like if me like and this is a very like me centric problem. If I like play really well and my MMR is just naturally a high no matter what, like no matter how I play, it's just naturally high just because I play so well at the game. Then like my games, I'll be wanting to run more sweaty builds in order to like go against the team I'm already going against. But then that goes into like, okay, but if I don't want to go against the sweaty teams, then I should just take a loss so that I can play against the teams that I want. And that works wonders for most people because I don't understand a lot of people that are like changing their gameplay for the sake of MMR because if you don't want to go against those sweaty gamers, then just play how you do normally and the MMR system will hopefully rank you appropriately, rank you with people that you like should be playing against. But for people like me that like I'm gonna be going against like sweaty people no matter what, just because of how much time I put in the game and how efficiently I play, then like there's really no reason for me not to run those builds other than me just not wanting to run them because I get bored. And so I do think that DBD needs to eventually implement like a perk synergy, maybe like a system like I've talked about before, how like you can only run like so many rarities of perks. Like say they go back to the old rarity system with perks, there were some perks are common, some perks are uncommon, the brown and yellow. Some perks are rare, which is the green, or very rare, which is purple, or ultra rare, which is pink. Just rating the different perks by different rarities, and then you can have only like so many of the rarities in your build. Like that would be interesting if they balanced it like that. It would require a lot of work, but I think that would really help out with a lot of the balance with the game. And like if a perk was unbalanced, they could just adjust the rarity accordingly instead of just blanket nerfing perks. And then they could release perks that are really strong without having to worry about how like okay, how will this perk factor in with like Ruin and Dying, stuff like that. Um, but that's a problem I don't think DPD is ever gonna resolve. To be honest with you, just because of how much work it takes. Uh, but going back to the MMR thing, I do think that the MMR system is a good thing. But like I said, if there's no casual queue in combination with competitive queue, because the casual queue shouldn't have MMR, it should just be based off of like the ranks, the emblem system, whatever. But if there's no competitive queue to go alongside the MMR, and you're forcing people to play competitively in a game mode that they don't want to play competitively, because DBD is meant to be a party game from the start, and forcing people to play competitively in those matches, even though they don't want to, is going to lead to a lot of people having bad experiences with the game. And so I think if the devs do want to go forward with this MMR system, they should have 2 queues, which I think the game supports. A lot of people have told me like, oh, like I don't think there's enough players for that. There's we can check right now. Let me pull it up on my other screen. Oh, just open up a YouTube channel. Uh, let me yeah. So there's 34,000 people playing right now. It's currently 5:21 p.m. Pacific time. There's a 42,000 player peak. That's a lot of people, and that's just on PC. That's not counting in PlayStation and Xbox and even the Switch, which I've heard that PlayStation has more players than PC on average. So if it's over like 100,000, 150,000 players concurrent at any given moment, I think there's enough of a player population to at least split the queues. And if they do split the queues, then it goes into like DBD. They need to implement some type of system to tell you how long the queue is. Because if I was told that like, okay, you're queuing up for Survivor, the queue is a minute 30, I would love that because then I'd be able to know how long the queue is, how long I need to wait. Because a lot of like the dredge of waiting for the queues and lobbies is that you don't know how long you're gonna wait for it. I could go into a lobby and it could be 10 seconds before I get a game, or it could be 30 minutes before I get a game. And I just don't know until I get in it. And just waiting that entire time and not knowing how long I'm going to wait just makes all of the more worse. And so if they added in 2 queues and had a matchmaking time telling you how long it's going to take before you get into a match, and then implemented the MMR only to the competitive queue, I think this would be a really good system. I think this is just another case of DBD actually getting something right, which is really good. And DBD has been like doing a little bit better with certain things. So it's good to see that they're continuing to do better in certain areas. But it's good to see them getting something right. But I think it's a little bit short, which is also something they suffer from a lot. Just getting a little bit short of where they should be. And if they go a little bit further with it, if they make a competitive queue, make the MMR apply to the competitive, I think this would be a really good thing for the game. And then you would have the people that want to play competitively, they have their own part of the game, they have their own corner, and you have people that don't want to play competitively, they can still play DBD how they've always wanted to play it. And so, yeah, I would love to hear you guys talk about what you think about the MMR system. If you think it's good for the game, bad for the game, if you think that there should be 2 different queues, if you think that, or if you had really bad experiences with the MMR, I'd love to hear about it. If you played Survivor or Killer, I would love to hear your experiences. And yeah, again, thank you guys for watching this very like rant centric video. I just wanted to put out my opinion for anybody that might be curious about it. And I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully soon. If you guys want to see my stream, I should be live at least somewhat soon after the release of this video. You can check it out in the description down below, twitch.tv/trickstershadow. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.